Before we start today's episode, I have been recently informed that a fellow YouTuber, Scarce Tortilla, has begun his own Kerbal Space Program playthrough. And from what I know, that his space program is outpacing us. It was a shock to me as he reached outer space in half the time it took for us, and we really don't know his intentions for this. He might just be playing around or something, but all this does is just fill us with the ambition it takes to reach orbit in today's episode. Hopefully. I'm recording this pre episode, so we'll see, and we're not going to let the Reds take over. Alright, let's get to that video.
Alright, after that lovely intro, we are back. So, again, we have the Vanguard TV3, and we are just now preparing for our second test flight. This will be the big day, So, active. So, Wasserfall is just a test of a surface-to-air missile. I'm pretty sure because it goes up with Vanguard TV3, it's gonna have an issue. So maybe it'll work. So as you heard with my little intro, we now know Scarce Tortilla is in the race, and I have seen some pictures of his rockets. Probably not as cool as mine. Just saying. America rules. What is this? Deacon. Recover the core intact. Okay. We're gonna do this in a bit because it's another. Whoa, almost cussed there. It's another catch and release mission, pretty much. You just shoot it into the air and then land it again. But I have good news about that, because after our launch of Vanguard, I will be introducing the series to a new rocket, or maybe I haven't. I've already probably introduced it. I can't really remember at this point. And we love the lovely loading screens. Don't worry, the cuts will continue. But we just need to start up the Vanguard TV4, America's second attempt at an orbital launch. Now, I have word that the Soviet Union, it may be close or already achieved at this point an orbital launch. So this is for all of the Americans at home. Ignition of the KSP. So this is while we're watching it take off here. Little interesting fact about Vanguard: it's the Navy's rocket. So this isn't even the Air Force's premier rocket; it's the U.S. Navy, which is really weird to think about. I thought this thing had a lot more gimbal, but maybe I don't have the right amount of update. Okay, so this is already heading into a bad start. I don't know what's up with the gimbal. It's not working. Oh, the engine. Look at that. The engine's not moving. That's concerning. Not even the verniers. But it's fine. Okay, you guys can't see that. So we're currently attempting our second launch. Not going off to a good start. It has the thrust, but it's killing me that we're going to have to work on our upgrades. I don't know if and Due to a engine failure, Vanguard, as we see here, Vanguard TV4 spins hopelessly out of control. America is yet again embarrassed by a failure of their rocketry. So, Vanguard TV4 was a failure. Yeah, it's as we watch now, Vanguard TV4 is currently a last attempt by the crew, orders its solid rocket motor to fire. Surprisingly enough, Kerbal Space Program's physics is so janky that this might actually work. So here goes. I'm gonna milk this while flying at Kerbin. Currently, we're gonna transmit as much data as possible as this thing falls to the ground, and we will come back. We'll come back right after this.
As Vanguard TV4 fails due to a second stage misfire, news from the Soviet Union quickly reaches the scientists. The Soviet Union has put the first object into orbit of Kerbal. The small satellite was launched by an R-7 about an hour before Vanguard TV4 took off, and now Kerbal has a new moon, a red moon.
Well, as you've seen, the Soviet Union has reached orbit. Now, this pains me to admit, but America has fallen behind in our efforts of reaching space. Our only hope now is that this embarrassment will fill us with resolve and inspire us to go on further. We cannot let the Soviets' achievement of putting the first artificial moon into orbit of Kerbal. We can't let that rule us. So we will be attempting to do something we will be taking a rocket from the Army's test range, known as the Juno. Juno is a rocket developed by Werner von Braun. He was the same man who developed the German V2. The reason we picked him is because the V2 was the backbone of our early space flights, so we're gonna accept these contracts. Those haven't been there. Parts testing, surveys. I love this little tab. Makes my life so much easier. But ScanSat, we don't have any of this yet. Today, we launch Explorer 1 and we reach orbit. We prove that America can do all of this. That we are not being left, but that the Soviets will not be leaving us behind in this race. I already got this. We will not let the Russians have the advantage. I honestly hope that the Soviets beating us into orbit has filled us with resolve and preparement. For today, we we as Americans launch our third orbital launch attempt using the Army Air Corps. Well, actually, they were disbanded by this point, so the Air Force's Juno. I'm just going to be quiet for our launch sequence. Now, the only thing I wish that they added to the about this cover here, excuse me, about the cover is that in real life this was spinning to provide control. So I forgot exactly which control it does, but now this is my first actual like in-game flight of this, so we're gonna see how it goes. The kerosene is starting to run out. I'm hoping these solids, I told you at the beginning of the series that I did not want to rely on solids, but we cannot have the Soviets beating us this early. It took them half the time to even reach space. So, we will not let them win. We will not let them get one over on us, as they say. Now, in real life, I will be honest, in real life, that the Juno could not restart its engines like this. This is a Kerbal thing. But I'm not playing on Realism Overhaul, so I gotta make this stuff work. Alright. Thank God it has this guidance unit, but we're in our coast phase now. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it didn't blow up, so. Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, Explorer 1 has reached orbit. America's first satellite to compete with the Reds' Sputnik. Now, let's get that telemetry data. This thing still has a lot of electric charge. So we're going to immediately abuse the heck out of it and grab as much data as possible. What? Sadly, Explorer 1 will eventually go dead in orbit, but it does have a long-lasting battery, so we're going to try to grab as much data as possible. So we're going to grab some radiation data. Could transmit as much data as possible, but today we've come together and we will not let the Reds beat us. For Explorer 1, passing over proves to them that America is not only ready, but they're blatant. They're they're fast-paced. Dang, I can't talk. I'm tired. But their fast pace into space is not a sign of what's to come. Now, to the Space Center. All right, we are back at the Space Agency. We got a lot of funds, and this is still here. The Scout second stage. But if we look at archived, Explorer 1 is complete. We have reached orbit. Now, what does that mean? We are immediately going to get ready. Because with all this data coming down, look at this money. We can finally upgrade our launch pad. No more launching from some janky little dirt thing. And we're also going to upgrade our VAB. Now, sadly, I don't have... we should have... it's already level 2, but anyway. We are going to begin work on some new rockets immediately. Explorer 2... We're going to fit Explorer 2 to launch in about a month. Not obviously in game time, but... we're going to head here. We're going to see what it takes to get a rocket I really want. Atlas launch stand. So we're going to get this. This is something big. This is the Atlas. Yeah, ignore that. I really like how this base looks, but if I have to replace it, I'll be sad. But this is what I'm going to try to get. Now, I need to see what I need to get the Atlas launch stand. Because the Atlas rockets, although they were really troubled as ICBMs, Atlas. That's concerning. Oh. 70 research till we get tooled production lines. Alright, tooled production lines, don't let me forget that. But we are immediately going to head to mission control. We're going to accept a Vanguard, and we're going to accept Explorer 2. Kerbin. We have a lot of these are annoying, but Deacon. This is Soviet stuff. We're not going to do anything Soviet. Weather study. Perform photo reconnaissance of a polar orbit. That's interesting. That's going to lead into the Corona program. But right now, we need to focus on getting a Vanguard up and an Explorer. Now, where we need to get some SAS upgrades pronto. So even though I was gonna go back to Launchpad, we need it immediately to figure it. So I'm gonna get stuff for the Atlas, which is gonna be a huge help in this series because it's a really good medium launch vehicle. But we SAS. Yeah, look at these. These are matured satellites. Although before it would give me upgrades. I don't know what's up with that. I think that might be under. Yeah, see, this is basic. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do here because we need to get some SAS upgrades immediately if we're going to be flying heavier and heavier rockets. But as we can see, not much now. Not much we could do now. I don't know what was up with that. Excuse me. With that launch of Vanguard earlier with no gimbal. We're gonna try this again. I'm gonna give her a new paint job and everything. Even though we just used we just used the same TV free body. Yeah, see, now it looks kind of different. Alright, so what is up with this? Let's see. So we're getting upgrades. I don't know why upgrades aren't popping up in the tech tree. Because usually they do, but... Go there, gimbal free. We're going to do another test launch. We're just going to do a quick, like, fire up of the main engines. Because I don't know why TV4 struggled. And I'm also trying to get as much stuff into orbit right now as possible. Alright, well, we're just going to call this. Alright, we're going to cut off RCS and we're going to call this our second test flight of Vanguard. I don't know what is up with this first stage, but it is not working with me. See? Like, not even the verniers are really moving. But anyway. We're going to call this our second test launch. Of Vanguard. Sorry, I'm trying to focus. I don't know why it's turning so much. This is concerning, but... So we already have Explorer 1 in orbit right now. We are going to try to meet it with our recently upgraded Vanguard. Maybe it was something... Maybe it's something... I don't know. What is up with that engine? I just remember it like being able to move more, but maybe that's because it doesn't have that powerful of an SAS probe core anymore. But that's fine. The second stage was maneuvering just fine, so... It's burning pretty good. Just that initial push is all it needed. So we're going to warp up to here before we start up our second stage. which is actually using hypergolic fuels. Which this stage here is actually... Now this is really useful as a basic RCS. All that means is that this burns more efficiently. And look at that. Staying there. Now, see, this is why I really want... I've been really putting in work in the Vanguard, even though it's failed me like 3 times. It's this upper stage here. This upper stage is later to become the Able upper stage, as you can see here, which will... In my last playthroughs of Kerbal Space Program, the Able has been my hardline, because the Atlas Able, although it wasn't that successful in real life, in Kerbal Space Program it doesn't have those issues. And even though it's a very ugly looking rocket, if you look at it, someone's going to get offended, but it is an ugly rocket. The Atlas Able in this game is way too overpowered. It is my equivalent of the Soviet R7, because I can put stuff into like lunar transfer orbits. Because the Atlas just burns through everything. I'm pretty sure in Kerbal Space Program it can get close to orbit. Pretty sure it could get close to orbit throughout its like mainline thrust, like main. Well, we're almost in orbit right now. All right. Boom. And that's how you reach orbit using the Vanguard. Now we have 2 satellites in orbit, one of them including the first ever solar panels. Now the second yeah. In real life it would have kept just spinning, but we can log... Oh, that ain't gonna get us anything. But look, it's charging. We can log temperature, which we've already done. So this is more of a publicity stunt more than anything. So this is where I'm going to end off the episode with the second American satellite in orbit and Vanguard's first successful launch. So I'm going to end it here, guys. See ya. Have a good night. Take care. And come back for episode 4, I guess. Or 3, I don't know.